Hey there, welcome to episode 85 of Fresh Air at 5, my podcast. This episode is called Going Hiking. And the reason it's called Going Hiking is because it's only 4 days long this week, as on Friday, we are headed out to the Sunshine Coast to go hiking. So we're going backpacking for 4 days. Excited about that. Spend some time in the woods, see some beautiful things, and get outside. All right, in this episode, you're going to hear from Tom Schimmer. You're going to hear from Eric and Nick. You're going to hear from Lainey Rowell, as well as Chris, Nessie, and Daniela Romero. So take a look and listen for those people and what I have to say about the content that they share with us. Without further ado, here's episode 85, Fresh Air at 5.
I'm Christy Hemingway, host of Ed Curation, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood, to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at Fresh Air at 5 or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected. Hey PLN, it's good to see you on August 15th, 2022, out for Fresh Air at 5 this morning, enjoying my walk and thankful for my neighborhood, the place that I live, the beautiful nature around me, and those are my thoughts as I step out the door. You know, it took a bit for me to get that way this morning. Didn't feel like it. Didn't feel like going for a walk, but I knew it was going to be good for me, and I'm thankful now that I did so. So have you gotten out for your walk or done anything for yourself today that is probably going to be good for you that you didn't feel like doing? Well, go do it. I encourage you to do so. Take care of yourself and push yourself a little bit. So that's what I'm doing right now, and thankful for that. This morning as I'm walking, I listened to episode 79. I believe it's episode 79 of the Tom Schimmer Show, as Tom brings us 3 segments, and very thoughtful on your part, Tom. I thank you for the first opening, the Don't At Me section, about talking about teaching still matters and how we label ourselves as teachers, and we don't label ourselves as teachers but facilitators, or we label ourselves as just teachers. I'm just a teacher. No, people. We are teachers and we make a difference in the world. We need to see ourselves as significant and the act of what we do as important. Tom, you get into this. It's so good. And I'm just reiterating things that I've heard from you. And it's important that we acknowledge our name, the fact that we are teachers. We do facilitate learning. We do provide learning opportunities. We do engage our students in discussions, but we are teachers. We are significant. We make a difference in the world. All right, so that's the opening segment on this podcast episode from Tom Schimmer. And thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. In the next section, you talk with Lainey Rowell, and she is the author of a book that just is coming out or just came out recently called Evolving Gratitude, and how to bring gratitude practices into your classroom. And Lainey, thank you so much for your thoughts and words. And before I talk a bit more, I'm going to stop because I'm running out of time here on Twitter. I'll be right back. 1 second. One more thing for August 15, 2022. Continue my thoughts on episode 79 of the Tom Schimmer Show. Tom talks with Lainey Rowell and how she has a practice of gratitude, and her podcast is called Evolving with Gratitude, after the name of the book that she has released. And, it was great to hear Lainey and Tom talk about gratitude and how they process thankfulness and their joy in the things that they do, and that it's an authentic gratitude, not a clinical gratitude. There's a place for clinical gratitude where we need to have a process for maybe getting ourselves out of a funk when we're in a low spot or something like that we have practices that we do, but making it authentic and how we feel at that moment in time. Acknowledge that we're sad. That's okay to do, but look at how we can be thankful for things around us. And, this is a big topic, something that I've been thinking about and doing. And my one word for 2022 is presence. And it's about being present where I am at the moment that I'm there. And that's a lot to do with gratitude for where I'm at, my people I'm around with, and the things that I see around me. So that's great. Appreciate that, Lainey. It was so fantastic to see or to hear you talk about gratitude and your book. I'm going to have to check that out and see how I can bring more gratitude practices into my classroom with my students. Maybe journaling once a week and just writing down something that they're thankful for. It's very clinical at the first. They'll be like, what? Okay, so I'm thankful for my mom, but it'll grow and get better as it goes along. Finally, assess that with Tom and Nat. Tom and Nat, you talk about leadership in change in your schools and assessment change and reform and how we communicate. And you know what? As a school leader, it's important to communicate early, often, and more often. All right, that's all. Gotta go. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, Tuesday, August 16, 2022. Out for fresh air at 5 this morning. Look at the sun. Look at the sky back there. It's beautiful and nice and orange. And so that's, I'm looking forward to the day of sunny here and just, enjoying being outside. Got some chores to do around the house, so that's great. Some of that'll be mowing the lawn, so I get to go do that. And okay, so this morning as I'm walking, I listened to episode 118 of Got Tech, the podcast with Eric and Nick. And gentlemen, you guys dropped another awesome episode. People, take a listen to this episode. If you're a veteran teacher, take a listen to this episode. If you are a new teacher, take a listen to this episode. If you know a new teacher that isn't listening to podcasts, get them to listen to this podcast because there's something in here for everybody. And you guys do a great job of bringing the magic of your lists. You guys got lists, and Trello is a tool that Eric uses to make his lists and share information with Nick and others around him. And I bet you got lists for lots of things, and it's great. And your lists have to do with tips for new teachers, tips for veteran teachers, being organized, thinking about how you're going to accomplish things, and ed tech tools that can be there to help you with videos, infographics, content creation, all manner of things. Gents, I was on with you guys a couple years ago supporting and defending Adobe Spark that has changed names since. And I got news for you. Just as Nick has flip-flopped from, Screencast-O-Matic to Screencastify for a screencasting tool, I am more on board with Canva than I had been at that time. So that episode really affected me. And yes, we have to be mindful and open-minded about how and what we are using for different reasons of why we're using it. Okay, I'll be right back. Hang on. One more thing for August 16, 2022. Continuing my thoughts on episode 118 of Got Tech, the podcast, as Nick and Eric bring us 5 tips for new teachers and veteran teachers and ways to get going at the beginning of the school year for organization and thinking about how to accomplish things in tech tools. I gotta say that this year is going to be like my digital world is going to be turned on its head. Not on its head. It's going to be turned probably 90 degrees because we've been a Google district. I have been a Google advocate, and our district this coming year is transitioning into Microsoft for Education, and I need to become adept in that. I've got a lot of skills because of my my understanding of digital literacy and about digital tools, but the point is that my Google Drive is going to disappear in a year, and I got to get stuff out of it and figure out how I can work with my students in the new Microsoft space. So I am with a heavy heart talking and saying that your show has really made a difference for me in my Googling way, and it's going to change because I'm going to have to start thinking Microsoft for a lot of things. I'm taking a Microsoft workshop starting this week on Wednesday with Cobblestone Collective. Shout out to Cobblestone Collective. Made a big difference in my Google understanding in the past, but now they're going to be there to support my Microsoft learning. So Eric and Nick, thanks so much. Appreciate you guys. I appreciate your passion for podcasting because that is just, it's important for me that I can see the people that are around me and you guys doing your podcast. Back to the beginning. I'm going to have another segment here coming up. But you talked about design thinking and learning about that. 1 second, I'll be right back. The last thing for August 16, 2022. I was listening to Got Tech, the podcast this morning. This is the third segment on that show, episode 118, with Eric and Nick. And gents, at the beginning and the top of it, you were talking about a question that Vicky, I don't know who the Vicky is, but the Vicky had about you guys talking more about design thinking and questions about design thinking. And this has been a journey for me at my school for the past better part of 4 years as I was thrust into media design 11 and 12, and how that has evolved over these years. And design thinking, I'm going to just put it like this, is like the scientific method. We understand the scientific method, but the thing that design thinking does beyond the scientific method has the empathy at the outset, and empathy for the end user and what the end user needs compared to what we, the designers, need. And our needs as designers is very different than what the end user's needs are. So that's the part that I, as a scientist, struggled with, was how do I find out what people want? Yeah, you got to talk to people. You have to have interviews. And it could be as simple as, running into somebody and spending time having a conversation over coffee. It's hard for students to do that in the classroom, but to have those empathetic interviews with the end user before you jump in to making something for them so that it has relevancy in that. Our big project this past year was our yearbook, and our end users were our school families and students, and we designed from scratch. We did research at the beginning, find out how much they would pay and stuff like that. I'm excited about that. I'm also excited to hear about your branding course, World Technologies 2. And I'd like to talk to you more about World Technologies 1 and maybe have some chats with you about swapping curriculum, maybe see what we can do. Okay, we'll talk to you guys. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, welcome to Wednesday, August 17, 2022. This morning, out for fresh air at 5. I'm out walking. The sun is higher in the sky because I drove my wife to work this morning, which is something I really like to do in the summertime. Get to take her to work, pick her up after work. I get to see her more than I do during the school year when she drives herself to work. So that was what we did. Oh, we baked cookies for her staff as well before we left the door this morning. So baking cookies, oh, yummy. Nice warm cookies out of the oven. We did chocolate chip and score chocolate chip cookies. So I got a great recipe that I've worked on for years to get them so they're the way that we like them. All right, this morning, my first segment here is not about a podcast that I've listened to, but it is about an event that is going to be going on and starting today with Cohort A, and it is called Back to School with Microsoft for Education, and it's put on by the Cobblestone Collective, and the Cobblestone Collective, formerly EdTech Team Canada. Big fan of EdTech Team, whoop whoop. Big fan of Cobblestone Collective, whoop whoop. Shout out to Michelle Armstrong for being the leader of this group, and she has put together with her team a workshop. And so this is about Microsoft for Education. And as you know, I am in the transition state right now of going from Google to Microsoft and mourning the loss of Google in my school district that will be official in July 2023, but I thought I'd get a jump on it. So I'm excited about learning. And today, the session that I'm going to be in is being presented by Cami Cannikins. A big shout out to Cami Cannikins. And Cami is one of my faithful listeners of Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. You're going to hear this on Saturday, Cami, if you're not hearing it today. So big shout out to you. Looking forward to learning all from you and with you today and bringing my Microsoft game up. I need to get my Google level 1 recertified so I don't lose that, but I got to also work on my Microsoft Educator as well. So it's coming. It's coming. All right. Without further ado, we've got some more to talk about. Coming up. Hang on. One more thing for August 17, 2022. As I continue my walk today, I was privileged to listen to a New to Me podcast. And so the New to Me podcast that you should take a listen to as well is called Evolving with Gratitude with Lainey Rowell. And in episode 19, Lainey talks with Devin Vodika, and I probably might have got that wrong, but in episode 19, she talks with Devin, who is a superintendent in North County, San Diego, and also the founder of Learner-Centered Collaborative, which is an organization that brings to light the need for being learner-centered. And that's not meaning independent study. It's not meaning only things that are project-based learning, but how can we meet the needs of our learners as they go through their days of learning? And also, the word learner is not specifically to students and young people. It has to do with the teachers. It has to do with all those around that are learning. And learner is a really important word. So that's great. Lainey, you are all about gratitude in this podcast and talking about gratitude and what does that mean. And I like to hear what people have to say about gratitude because I have my own ideas and my own ideas are mine. But I see that gratitude is so important to affecting our demeanor and our social well-being. A grateful heart goes a long way. Gratitude is an act of the will. It is not something that we just naturally do because for me, I'm naturally a negative person. It takes time and work to be a positive person. Well, not all the time negative, but I can tend to be that and look at the deficits and things. Devin, I appreciate your conversation with Lainey. I appreciate your relational trust 4 C's that have to do with compassion, consistency, communication, and competence, and how those are necessary to build relationships, a trusting relationship. All right. Take a listen, people. Thanks so much. Lainey, appreciate it. And I'm going to drop an Apple podcast review, one of my very first, for you. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, August 18, 2022. Happy Wednesday morning. No, is it Wednesday? No. It's Thursday. I missed Wednesday. No, I didn't miss Wednesday, but I forgot it was Thursday. Okay, moving along right now. I'm out for my walk. It's a beautiful morning. It was 18 degrees Celsius at 5 o'clock a.m. And it is going to be a toaster one today. I heard we're going to get a high of 35 Celsius here with high humidity. So yeah, we're going to stay inside in the air conditioning and yes, stay cool. All right, be cool where you are too. All right, this morning I listened to episode 206 of the House of Ed Tech with Chris Nesi as he brings us a power-packed episode as he has on guest Daniela Romero, who is a teacher from Toronto, Canada, and they talk about her journey in education and using technology and being brave, working with kids and other adult learners about working with technology and sharing the joy of what she does. Thank you, Daniela, for your conversation with Chris. It is encouraging to people like me to hear people like you talk about what you do and how you do it and why you do it. The big part of education is the why we do this. Yeah, we get paid. Yeah, it's a job, but there's a whole lot more why there than those things. So thanks so much. Appreciate it. Take a listen to Daniela's conversation with Chris, and you'll be inspired and encouraged as well. Chris, you opened up your ed tech thought with being kind, and we need to remember it's about how we treat people and be kind to one another. All right, as you moved along, you gave us 10 Google Drive tips. Moving out of Google Drive, moving into OneDrive. So if you got any OneDrive tips, that'd be fabulous. And finally, Jose Morales sent in just give it a try. And he was asking about Twitter Spaces and recording. And when you were on my podcast, Chris, about 3 weeks ago now, as we did a Twitter Spaces, you brought up Flowgen. I need to look into this, appreciate the explanation of it, and getting into doing a bit more Twitter Spaces Flowgen recording. All right, that's it for today. Have a fabulous day and talk to you soon. Bye. As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.